the first question, we've all been talking about data versus the people for the last couple days. How did DoubleClick pave the way for a data-driven marketplace?
Well, we actually came from outside the advertising market. We're technology, and we were very focused on data, proving that ads could be targeted, and then measuring how ads responded. And we knew sort of in the beginning, if you want to create a sustainable market, you got to prove to businesses, you either have to save the money or make the money. You just can't, pull the wool over people's eyes. So you need proof, and so data was instrumental, especially from in the beginning. It was the measuring. And the sort of, I don't know, call it baby targeting. It was, so very basic targeting that we were able to do.
More contextual targeting?
More contextual targeting, geographic targeting, things that you could derive sort of from the IP address. But then around 1999, we made some pretty huge discoveries, and it was pretty exciting. And the big one was that things like purchase intent, shopping cart abandonment, if you could remarket to those people, we were seeing 800 to 1,000% improvements, and this was it was over the top. And at the time, it was extremely important because everyone at that time thought the internet was really healthy. It really wasn't. It was a hugely subsidized market. It was being subsidized by venture capital, subsidized by the stock market, and companies weren't really self-sustaining off of advertising. So advertising really needed to work. And unfortunately, before we could actually release these products, the whole sort of internet.com boom collapsed, and the subsidies went away, and it was a tough struggle. So it's great to see it's actually back now.
Going off of this a little bit, and you said they really needed advertising to take hold. Do you think it's the increase in targeting that's allowed the industry to flourish post the boom bust?
Yeah, I mean, we're competing with all the other markets out there. Yes, people are spending time. You have to advertise where people are spending time. But at the end of the day, people look at what's the conversion rates, what's the actual performance. So it's a competitive market. So data has increased the internet's competitiveness dramatically.
The title of your conversation that's up and coming with Omar from Blue Kai is "Data is not a dirty word." What are some misconceptions that people have about data's role in the interactive advertising industry? Are you recognizing that people have misconceptions about data?
Yes, a couple big ones, I think. One is that one thing that we learned. Look, advertising. If there was a switch that everyone could flip, they would turn off all advertising. We like to think in this industry that everyone loves advertising, but they don't. You probably have a DVR at home, and you probably fast forward.
Guilty.
Yes, everyone's guilty. So,
yeah.
But the reality is, someone's got to pay for it. Internet's a beautiful thing. You can get access to all the information in the world for free. So someone's got to pay for it. It's got to be subsidized. And what we learn with advertising is that, especially through data, if you can give people relevant ads, things that they're interested in, maybe I'm looking for a car, I'm looking for a truck. It'd be nice to see all the different truck ads. They respond better. So people are voting with their mouse, and they're voting with their credit card, and they're sending really strong signals that I prefer this because I'm responding more. So it's actually, from a consumer benefit, it's a great consumer benefit. They get free content, and they actually get ads that are more relevant. The biggest misperception, I think, especially in the early days, is people weren't sure what the data was being used for. So people tended to think it was going to be used for negative reasons. And we found ourselves in a situation arguing, we're not going to sell this data to insurance companies to deny health insurance because you have cancer, because you'll went to a cancer website. I mean, that was never anyone's ever intent. So that was a huge sort of misperception, is that data could be used in a negative context. But it really was, hey, if you're shopping for a GPS device, it'd be nice to get ads that show you what all your options are.
Right. How do you think that the industry could be using data better? I mean, even though, say, you shopped for something, that cookie or trail may not be, as full of a being as you are in your interests. So I'm wondering how the industry could make better use of the available data.
Well, it's interesting. I haven't been involved with internet advertising since 2005. Since I left DoubleClick. So I'm looking at this from the outside.
From the outside.
And things have changed a lot. And I think one of the things that the industry could do is they need to simplify. It's really complicated. I mean, I'm a reasonably smart guy who knows the industry reasonably well, and I find it increasingly difficult. The other one is they need to get in front of the privacy stuff. There's a lot of stuff. There's not enough rules on the data. I've seen it from a publisher. I'm on the publishing side, right? We have intent to purchase data. It's the most valuable data, and we're seeing some I don't know, practices in the industry that just aren't, they're not legitimate, and that stuff needs to be cleaned up. So as an industry, I mean, it's got to get a good set playing field, which is what we did with the NAI, which is very important. But they need to get rid of the data leakage and the data stealing, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
A little, well, not a real
I mean, it would
way.
be a shame too, because it's extraordinarily powerful, really super
yeah.
powerful, and it's going to make the industry a lot better.
So you're now at Find the Best.
Yes.
Tell me about Find the Best, and if there's any way to relate it back to the, data-driven marketplace, that would be great. But I found it a really interesting site where you can compare
Yes.
even, the different employees at the company.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
So, I mean, I definitely related back to data. I mean, one of the things that I found over the last few years is the internet, beautiful place, great place. There's just so much information and so much false information and so many marketing scams and schemes and affiliate shills, and it's difficult to know, especially when you're making a big decision, to find comparative data that you could trust. And so our goal was to create this trusted place where people could make big decisions, whether it's going to college, buying a fractional airplane, ski resort, or picking a dog breed, the best dog breed for your young kids. And it was a big job. We're going over after hundreds of different areas, but we developed this platform. But one thing I learned at DoubleClick is purchase intent. There's just nothing more valuable. I mean, forget about all the other data. Forget about the fact that you're a woman and your age. And yes, it's interesting for some advertisers, but purchase intent is just extraordinarily powerful. And it's just a great place for advertising. We're actually making, it's kind of the final stage when someone's going to make a big decision. And that's we don't accept advertising today, but eventually I think it'll be a very interesting advertising place.
Definitely a very influential advertising environment. I can
But
imagine.
the big thing is creating consumer trust. So we've taken we're a bit like Consumer Reports without the subscription. I mean, we're very focused on, we want to help consumers. Consumers need to buy things, they want to make decisions, and they want to make the best ones that are for them. Marketers, on the other hand, rightfully so, are trying to influence those decisions. We want great products to win, and we want bad products to go out of business. Unfortunately, the reality in marketing, and we all see it, is that sometimes bad products win.
That is the case.
And I'll give you an example.
Yes, please.
We did one on acne medicines, right? Huge marketplace. Well, it turns out when you do research, there's 3 ingredients that have been clinically proven to solve the acne problem, right? So then it comes down to who's got those ingredients and how much money they're spending on the spokesmodel to get you to buy a monthly supply of it. And there's a huge discrepancy. Auto insurance, we find 1,000% discrepancy between auto insurance premiums in certain areas. So just trying to expose this and help consumers pick what's really best for them and best for the industry.
Having recognized competitive trends in acne medicines to auto insurance, how are you gathering and crystallizing all of this and analyzing all of this data in a way that makes it digestible?
That was the big risk starting off, is could we do it? One, we could create a platform that compared mercury levels in fish to fractional aircrafts. And we found out we could. So technically we could do it. And then the next one comes down to the beautiful thing about the internet is from a journalist standpoint, as you can find a lot of information very quickly. So our researchers are very much like journalists. They do a deep dive into a subject. They're really good at scouring, government databases and all the different sources. I mean, Wikipedia is a great source for just learning about how things are structured. And they can pretty quickly figure out what the important decision criteria are in an industry. But we're not always right. I mean, I'd say we're about 80% of the right way there. And then companies come in, they can actually modify their listing. They tell us, they say, hey, you should have named this field this, or you're missing this. This is a really important criteria.
So they're participating.
Yes. So it's a lot of user-generated or company-generated content. under editorial control.
Right, well curated.
Yes. And the human curation one is, I mean, it's good and bad. It scares the hell out of people because it's humans, which means money. So the question is, can you develop the technology to make those humans as productive as possible? And we have.